What's everybody getting themselves into on this Madness Monday? You already know we at work. You decided to hop on, chop it with an individual, see what's the talk of the town. Is going down the wind of the curve. You heard me. Whoopsie. Let me just set this up real quick. You already know it is a warm day here in Southern California. Beautiful day to be enjoying yourself. But you already know we always at work doing what we got to do. The grind don't stop. But just wanted to chop it up, see what's good with the folks and the lokes. Okay, let me just. What's cracking like it, Mr. Pata? Is definitely up in the casa. What's good, my loke? Que dice la buena vida. Eso es todo, carnal. What's cracking like a little rich? What's good? Shitting like a villain? You already know, my boy. We chilling. Pisteando una. Eso es todo, carnal. That's right. Enjoying yourself. That's good, homie. Now, for those who are curious, I did drop a new video on this channel, right? And we'll be bringing a later video about a serial killer on this channel, right? Dive into one of these messed up individuals' minds. It's crazy how fucked up some people's mentalities and minds get. Like, some people are just, they're way out there, bro. Way out there. Got people eating brains and all kinds of shit, homie. So, I don't know. A lot of crazy fucks. A deranged individual, yeah. Crazy loony individuals. Like, when you're already driven to the point where you're like cutting people open and eating their body parts and shit like that, then you're already like, you're already beyond lost. That Honda Accord hasn't been giving me any problems so far. But I don't think used car, not bad. I'm telling you, bro, those cars are built to last, homie. Those shits were able to last all kinds of this madre that I put it through. I used to have one, a white one. Shit, I put through that motherfucker hell and back. That shit was covered in bullet holes and all kinds of shit. But that shit was still running, though. Crashed and everything. They're far gone. There's no fixing them. Yeah, there's some people that are too gone. There's some people that are just like, you can't help them. There's no saving them. You know, those are truly lost causes. They do exist. You know, there's some people that's beyond there. What do you think about rappers who say that that they would try, like Brother Lynch Hung and individuals like that? I think those are just like, it's just lyrics. So I think it's just bars. I really don't think that they're actually, you know, like would willing to do that, right? Or who fucking knows, right? Who truly knows? For all we know, these individuals probably are twisted. But I feel like they're mostly just lyrics, though. But you never know, though. There is a possibility. What's cracking like it, Derek? What you doing, my boy? Sitting at home, right? Oh, that's right. The night off. That's good, homie. That's good. See, relaxing. It's like a tank crashing out. Serio, bro. That shit was, nunca fallaba. And if it did, if there was like little minor things, but they were just minor things here and there that needed replacing or fixing, and it wasn't even expensive, you know, it was actually quite, you know, cheap and easy. Brother Lynch Hung actually said that in an interview with Black. Oh, did he? That he was willing to try it, or that were just lyrics? Give a shout out to Brazil. Well, shout out to Brazil. Shout out to all the people out there in Brazil. Yeah, Brother Lynch, and he's not the only one. He was just one out of many that, you know, well, not out of many, but one out of, you know, these individuals that would rap, you know, in that type of graphic details. Right? More the dark side of rapping. Right? Where they would talk about, you know, like satanic rituals and dismemberments and killings of babies and all kinds of crazy, weird shit. It's like they would think about the most, like, crazy shit to think, right? And they would just throw it out there in a rap. I mean, Eminem was similar too in the beginning. would do that a lot. Someone like they wanted to get a reaction out of people, you know. Because in the beginning, that's how Eminem style was. He would say all kinds of absurd shit. He said he would try it if it was prepared correctly. Yeah, I don't know about that, bro. I mean, I'm not saying that it would taste bad or anything like that, but in the moral sense of things, right? Like you're eating another human, though. Like that's just, yeah, that's not cool. You know what I mean? Like just in the moral compass of things, you know. But the fact that he has those curiosities, I don't know. Happy Monday. Hello, everyone. Hey, happy Monday to you too. Um, horrorcore as an Insane Clown Posse. Oh, okay, yeah. But isn't Insane Clown Posse more like punk rock rap, right? Kind of like a Limp Bizkit sort of style, right? The ones that infuse like rock and rap together. It's like a rockerish type beat, but they're like rapping though. Isn't that what they do? I'm like, what the fuck? Serio, huh? Cannibal is never okay. Yeah, but in some parts of the world, they individuals do get down like that. We don't know what happens in the Sentinel Island. Pedo. You know those people that live like secluded from the world, right? Like they have no technology. The ones that live in the island with the fucking spears todavía. Yuvitas. Puro. Eso es todo, Cholo Juan 2.0. And he said a what? That was it eating the evidence. Fuck that. It must not be as great as people say or think that it is, right? Because I mean, these individuals that do end up doing that, they only eat like little pieces of the body, right? Like, and then they just leave it there. So apparently, it must have not been that great, right? If they're just sampling little shit here and there, and then they just don't ever think about re-eating it, even for their warped minds, right? Imagine though, just to be sitting there, just to be eating another human, though, like imagine how fucked up your brain and your whole mental must be in order to be, right there, cool. Like there's the fucking body's still right there. You just chopped it up. You know what I mean? And just to be sitting there, like if it's like you're eating dinner, that is fucking crazy, bro. That is beyond like that's some other shit, right? Like I don't see how people could possibly think that they could help these individuals. Like, yeah, that individual right there, yeah, he's far gone, bro. He's far, far gone. And it's like, how the fuck did they get to that point? You know what I mean? It's a trip. I find it interesting, right? Like wanting to learn in the process of how individuals literally get to that point, though. Because obviously everything is a process. It's just not like it doesn't just happen overnight, right? People just don't wake up one way and then wake up the next day another different type of way. What about us? Yeah, but see, animals think different though. Animals, don't have that part of the brain where they feel remorse and shit like that. You know what I mean? Animals just react on natural instincts, right? Like they gotta kill to eat, right? But they don't like feel any, type of way about it. We know this from studying animals' brains and studying, human brains who have been, donated for research, right? Their prefrontal cortex is different than a human's. Like they feel stuff, right? But just not like remorse or shit like that, right? Because they're not mindless, dumb animals either, right? Nah, hardcore. It might be the style hardcore, or maybe it's the beat. Who knows? Maybe that's why I feel like that. Paper second. That's right, my boy. Getting the feria, as you should. I heard this yard was declared active mainline GP. Oh, you already know, my boy. Right here. Hey, rifamos la tira, homie. Hey, ¿sabes qué? Your credentials, hey, we might, make you the llavero, homie. Serio. Because your credentials, hey, ¿sabes qué? They're super serio. you know, it's a trip because in the beginning of the whole YouTube, fucking, taboo genre, individuals serio would fucking literally be trying to run their channels like that. And I'm just like, why do these motherfuckers feel like they're in jail? Like to be trying to run it like that. Like, yeah, these individuals, yeah, they're not hanging around the homies. Homies would have been like, hey, fool, what the fuck are you doing, fool? Like, fool's over here thinking that fucking they're still in the yard. We're only gonna make you the llavero, homie, because we know that your long socks reach all the way to your thighs. So therefore, the higher the sock, the downer the fool. So I heard. What if you have like a onesie? Does that count like as long socks too? No one tops Wes Watson. Yeah, no, but see, Wes Watson's different though. He's for the gabachos though, for the whites. Oh yeah, and his side of the yard, like he's top tier, easily. He's definitely up there. For the blacks, I would have to say it's Whack 100, because Whack 100 swears like that fool's the fucking mero, So and he fucking lies like a motherfucker, right? So you know. For the raza, will probably be Gunners Collected, though. Like as in fairy tales that they tell. So those three would probably be like the fairy tale tellers of their cars. And for the homies, it would be that guy, the Choloani, the fucking what was that fucker's name? The fool that was with I think it was Choloani, no? The fool that swear he was a Mexica warrior. But he was really some white guy from Florida named Chad. Iron Jacket, yeah, there you go. For the homies, it would be Iron Jacket. That fool said they had him locked away in a special prison in Gotham Asylum. No, mames. Who said he was locked up in the Phantom Zone? Se pasan de verga, ¿no? Cheers, guys. That's funny. I thought about that for his kid. Hey, onesie sock. Hey, that's not a bad idea. The fact that they come in here and just like they tell the tales that they tell with no shame, though, like it's funny. Like what happened to you now, though? Like today, what tale do you have to tell now? What exactly happened? I swear I've never met an individual where they were incarcerated and so many things happened to them. Like I have never ever heard of such a thing. But like, damn, serio, another adventure? Dun, dun, dun. Like, interesting. Hey, can I tell you something? Should it? Um, dudes be checking paperwork on YouTube. That is crazy work. Yeah, that is some insane shit, though. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Why do you feel the need to do that? Like, what does it matter to you so much? Like, what the fuck is going on right here? Ah, that shit is comical. Uh, and it's like, and you were somebody ahead in the chain. I find that very hard to believe with the characters they display. Like, where do they get down like that? Whatever. I was rooting for Canelo, but I was disappointed. Yeah, he lost fair and square. Definitely lost fair and square. I did love the sportsmanship that both boxers displayed, especially one being Raza, one being a brother. I like how they respected each other and their cultures, and they kept it with a good sportsmanship as it should be, right? Because what a situation like this, there's individuals out there just dying for something to go sideways for them just to go on a fucking racist rant. You know what I mean? you know, I knew Canelo wasn't gonna have the same hunger and drive no more because once you have achieved and accomplished what you have accomplished, the same hunger and drive is not there no more. Jordan, MJ talked about that. He left the Wizards, right? He was talking about that, right? Like the same, you don't have that same motivational drive that you still have to prove yourself to the game, to the world. But once you feel like you have already, accomplished what you have accomplished, you don't have that same hunger and drive no more, right? It's not the same no more. That's how he knew that this time for sure he was retiring for sure, because he just didn't feel like he had anything to prove no more. He was already considered the GOAT. Canelo legitimately was a champ, right? He had already a gang of fights, gang of victories. I mean, he was already on top of the of his game. So like he wasn't gonna have the same motivational drive. Like I still have to fight to prove to the world that I'm elite or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? How do you feel about the hoods who cross out the? It's like tiny moves. But see, that's normal down here. That's normal though. Like, so nobody gets offended when anybody crosses out the S's over here. Like you see SK all the time, and people crossing out the S. That down here to us doesn't mean anything because there's a lot of neighborhoods that people beef it with that use the S, right? So it doesn't bother me. You know, it has never bothered me. People crossing out the R, now that bothers me. Now that bothers me. But not if they cross out the S. I don't care about that. And that's how other neighborhoods over here, they don't care if you cross out the edge. They're gonna care if you cross out the letter that represents their neighborhood. That's what they're gonna care about. So out here, no one cares about SKs and stuff like that. People see that they won't even like think twice. They'll think it's some crew or some shit. They won't even it won't even click in their heads. That's what I mean when I say that. What's happening in Northern California and everything is completely absent from down here. Like these people are not thinking about Northern Cali. Never, ever, 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 ever does it cross their minds of what's happening up there or about norteños in general. Never, bro. I swear. Fools never think about anything that has to do with Northern California. They only know about what's happening in their area and they only care about what's happening in their area. They don't care about nothing outside of it. Only on the internet do people care about shit like that. Like I said, just go on side quests on prison. Serio, bro? This like they go on some grand adventure. Shit is funny. some brothers say that victory for Crawford was a victory for the brother. But a lot of people see it that way. They feel like if Canelo would win, that's a win for Mexico. That's like I said, these people are delusional. That win is for Crawford, that win is for Canelo, not for the Mexicans, not for the brothers. If the Dodgers beat the Giants, that's not a win for the Sur and a L for the Norteños. If the Lakers beat the Kings, that's not a win for the Sud and the L for, you know what I mean? But a lot of individuals are fucking delusional like that. And it's like, get your heads out of your asses, bro. None of that shit has to do anything outside of related to what's in the ring, which is these individuals' careers. Like people that, like I said, there's people out there that put a lot of, they make shit into something that it isn't, though, right? That's why I always rock with your channel. You keep it real nice. Live in Boyle Heights. My boy, so far, me and you are like shoot. Hey, gracias, my boy. That's all we can do, bro, is keep it real. I know a lot of vatos on here. I don't know if it's because they just, I don't know, they want to paint themselves a certain way. I truly don't understand why these individuals, because like I said, I have never, none of the homies I ever hanged around with have ever behaved like how I have seen these individuals on the internet behave. Like, that's why that shit just makes me laugh and it throws me off, because I'm like, why the fuck are these fools acting like this? Like, and the only thing I could think of is because they want people to think that they're gangster. I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of. So they're insecure. So they feel like they could still be questioned by people, right? Because that's the only reason why individuals would behave like that, right? Like you have to, act like you gangster and tough because you feel like people can still call you out. Like, hey, homie, you never did no shit for your neighborhood. Hey, you ain't a real G, and they could bring the evidence to discredit you, right? So that's why they have to put up this facade like they always G. Compared to an individual was like, hey, this fool is not a G. Hey, well, if you really think, then you can go and ask, my boy. You can go and ask and you get your answer. You know what I mean? It's not that hard. And they're confident that what the people that know them will tell the person, so they're not afraid. Right? Individuals that really have street credit won't talk. They'll let the credit speak for them. They don't got to speak for the credit. Credit will speak for them. It's that easy. I seen it crossed out word. Oh, whack the 3. Oh yeah, there's neighborhoods that whack the 3 too. Yeah, like neighborhoods that beef it with like 3rd Street or Compton Barrio Tres, or neighborhoods like that use the 3. What are your thoughts on Trap? Lil Rush trying his best to push that King Von is a serial killer narrative. It's because he doesn't understand what a serial killer is, though. He thinks that a serial killer is just somebody who kills a lot of people, when that is a component to a serial killer, right? A serial killer is somebody who has 3 or more victims to their name, right? And has killed at a period of time. So not somebody who, like, let's say a mass shooter who kills everybody in one go, like someone that shoots up a school or a theater or something like that. That's a mass shooter. They're not a serial killer, right? Serial killers, like, they have the urge. They can't control it, right? Like, they have the urge to kill somebody, so they go and kill them, and then that satisfies their urges for a short period of time. Then they get the urge again, right? So then they go, time has passed, they go and kill again and again and again, and they can't stop themselves. They can't help but to keep going out there and committing these crimes, because it's however the hell they are, right? They have this uncontrollable urge to go and kill. Gangsters, when they go out and commit, like, let's say homicides, for example, they're not killing because they have this uncontrollable urge, right? They're doing it for their street credibility, their neighborhood, right? The motives of the individuals is different. What motivates a serial killer to kill compares to what motivates a gang member to commit a homicide, right? It's 2 different things. They're doing it for the different reasons. That's why they don't consider gang members serial killers, right? because these individuals find themselves in these predicaments, and they react based off of the predicament, right? It's their enemy slipping, right? So it's just something that happened, compared to this individual who has this uncontrollable urge and these thoughts of going and committing these gruesome homicides to satisfy that urge, compared to a gang member who's doing it for their street cred and stuff like that. So the motives are completely different, and that is the reason why they're not put in the same category as a serial killer. But he doesn't understand that component to that, right? So he just goes off of, like, he's somebody who maybe just heard something, right, and he thinks that, okay, so somebody who kills a lot of people, that's a serial killer. Oh, this guy's killed a lot of people, therefore he's a serial killer. Like, yeah, but you're missing the most important, component to it, which is the motives. The motives is always the most important reasons, right? That's why people waste so much time on the investigation, when people be like, why can't they just lock them up? Who cares about the details? No, the details makes all the difference in the world. The details, understanding why these individuals do what they do, is the way you combat these problems, right? And of why individuals commit these problems to begin with, right? That way you know now what to look out for. That's why they're the most important things, because serial killers also have, different categories that they're put in, right? Where somebody's like an angel of death, right? Like somebody who's a doctor or a nurse who, uses, whatever to kill, their patients, right? And then you have other serial killers that kill. They set let's say somebody sets a house on fire, right? And they go in there and save people, and some people die, right? But they set the house on fire because they want to be seen as heroes, like, oh, they went in there and saved them. And they normally tend to be law enforcement or firefighters, or somebody, who holds, or even some doctors, right, who hold that status, right? The fake hero serial killer, right? Then you have other serial killers that kill for, like cannibals, right? There's some that are necrophiliacs, right? Just to sleep with the dead bodies. So they have categories in themselves. Right? Because like I said, when we're talking about different personalities in mental, right, it's just, it gets very complex, right? When we're dealing with like the dark triad, where their individuals, display, sociopath tendencies, or narcissistic, or psychopath, or Machiavellianism, or, bipolar, or schizo, right? But like in the serial killer category, right? There's delusional serial killers, right? People that think that somebody was spying on them or stalking them. Because there's some that are really composed, and actually, there's, they're sadistic, and there's some that are, sadomasochists and all kinds of shit. Like I said, it just starts to get all kinds of crazy. And I don't think he really understands all that much when it comes to that. So the fact that he thinks he's a serial killer is just he's delusional. Matter of fact, I just got finished watching an interview where Trevor Ross, that he did a show called, the dude that does the interview destroyed Trevor Ross, and they only focus on criminal aspects of hip hop instead of. Yeah, he tends to hide. He says that he's there because he's a fan of the rap and everything like that, and a fan. But anytime you see him, when he talks about artists and stuff like that, if you were really a fan of the music, fan of the rap and the artists and stuff like that, a majority of your content would be focused on the music aspect of things, even though you're gonna go into his uprising and his story outside of the music, because that's what fans want to see as well, right? But if you are the fan of the music, right, most of your focus point when you're trying to hammer whatever message you're gonna hammer, whatever message you're looking to put out there to the people, that is where you're gonna spend the majority of your time. So if music is what you're the fan of, then a majority of the interview is going to be based around the music. if you're concentrating mostly on the criminal activities and the criminal, aspects of the individual, that's where you wanted your message to land. That's where you wanted to focus in. That's what you wanted people to pay attention to. The negativity, the criminal activity, you know? And by your videos, right? That's all the evidence people need. Like, oh, that's not true. Like, you can lie because, people, can say whatever they want. That's within people to lie. But your actions are saying what the truth is, right? Your actions are saying a completely different story. Because if it was the fan of the music, why did you only spend this, a little bit of time just talking about the music and a whole lot of time talking about this other shit? So what did you want to hammer home? Where did you want people to focus in on? This part, no? That's what I said. That's how you can tell when somebody. How can you tell somebody's really being is a humble person, an honest person, compared to he's looking to deceive? Like, well, if they start their videos off by saying, some positive shit like, oh, I want all people to love each other and uplift each other and shit like that. But then you spend, you do like about a minute of that. But then you spend 15 minutes, talking shit about people and saying fuck them and nothing. Right? And then you end it by another minute of some positive message like, oh, and remember to always do good in it. Really, what was the focus point of that video? The negativity. So it wasn't a language, people, the negativity. You just can't start it with some positive shit and end it with some positive shit and expect people to buy that you're a positive person. You know what I mean? You're a negative person because that's where you spend a majority of your time, at discussing and what you're throwing out there to the world. And people think that just because they say, oh, no, but I say some positive, or they must have not watched my video. I said some positive, like, what, a minute of that? Why you drilled in like 16 minutes of negativity? So what are you, a negative or positive person? Negative. That's a manipulation tactic. People do that. That way they could cover their tracks. No, I said this, I said that. But in reality, yeah, you said that because you're trying to trick the audience, but you don't really care for that. You feel like you had to say that just to say it, to try to cover your ass. Like I said, they think that they're smarter than the world, but an understanding of psychology, we already know what to look out for these individuals, these manipulators and con artists and fake individuals. You may be able to fool some people out there, but if you know what to look out for, they can't fool you. They can say what they want. Actions say different. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my lunch break is over. Got to get back to it. It was good chopping it up with you guys, and we out.